Hey, what's up, you guys? Today I wanted to just do a quick little best books of August kind of month where I talk about like the best books I read this month because with the Newts going on, I read so many books this month that if I would have talked about all of them in depth, we would have been there for hours and hours and hours. So I picked out 5 of them. 3 of them I actually read from the Newts, and 2 of them I actually finished after the Newts. I've actually finished 3 books since I posted my Newts wrap up, so my total for August is up to 39 now. But I have a feeling next month is going to be way lower because I'm just going to want to chill out, take my time, and get back into that slow pace of enjoying what I'm reading. For now, though, let's start with the first one on my stack, which is God's Grave by Jay Kristoff. This is the second book in the Nevernight Chronicles. And in this one, I can't go into too much detail because of spoilers from the first one, but we do continue to follow Mia on her revenge sprint, and it is just as, if not more, gory and bloody and all of that stuff that the first one was, but much, much better. And I did read this in anticipation for Dark Dawn that was supposed to release next month, but it got bumped back to next year. So I'm like, I'm not happy about it. I'm really not happy about it because I was really looking forward to Dark Dawn and being able to put Dark Dawn on my next month's TBR. But I'm okay. I'll live. I can reread them before the next one comes out. So anyways, I did give this one 5 stars. I also gave Nevernight 5 stars, and I believe I read that one back in, I think, April or May. I want to say it was May. But I did greatly enjoy this, and I cannot wait for the next one to come out. I do highly recommend these for fans of Grimdark. So if you do like Grimdark, definitely give Nevernight and God's Grave a try. Next on my list is another one for Grimdark lovers, and also one that I read for the Newts. It was actually like one of the first books I finished for the Newts, and that is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This is a fantasy set in heavily influenced by Chinese history, and we follow Rin, who is a war orphan that is raised by drug dealers in the south of China, and then she tests into one of the most prestigious schools that she can possibly get into, which is where a lot of the children of the hierarchy families go to learn the arts of warfare. And from there, it just escalates. The pacing on this was a little weird because it goes into a lot of depth about her first year at this school, and then the second and third years, it just kind of gives you highlights from that, and then it goes into a lot of depth about what happens after her third year. I'm not going to go too much into detail on that because of spoilers, and I try to keep this as spoiler-free as I possibly can. But the stuff that happens in this book, I hope this doesn't spoil anything, there is a trigger for rape in this book later on, like in the latter half of the book. But I did greatly enjoy this, and this is brutal. Like, mine and my husband's, because my husband was listening to the beginning of this book with me, and one of our favorite moments in the beginning of this book was when Rin is riding up to the school with her teacher, and they watch this kid get run over by a horse cart. And as the kid starts to get back up, the guy driving the horse cart turns around to run him over again. And her teacher has to stop her from jumping out of the cart to save the little boy, and tells her, if you run someone over, make sure they're dead. Because if they're not, you pay disability fees for the rest of their life. But if they are, you only pay the funeral fee once. I was like, oh, well, this is joyful. So anyways, I also gave this one 5 stars, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it, again, for anyone who's into Grimdark and is looking for non-European influenced fantasy. The next 2 books on my list are related, and one of them I read for the Newts, one of them I finished after the Newts, but that was because I couldn't get the Overdrive loan for the audiobook before I got to that point in the Newts. So the first one is New Spring, and then the second one is Eye of the World, both by Robert Jordan. New Spring is the prequel novel to the Wheel of Time series, and basically what it does for the series is it gives background information on Moiraine and Lan's relationship and helps develop them a lot as characters. So a lot of this, most of this you follow Moiraine, but you do get bits of Lan in there, and then towards the end you get both of them. And so it's not really necessary to the main series, but I did like it as an addition, and I did like reading it again after I had already read the series, and finding all of those little Easter egg names and things in there for later on in the series. So I did enjoy the reread of this one. And then Eye of the World was the one that I read for the Newts, and this one kicks off the 14-book epic in full. How this one starts is you follow Rand, Mat, and Perrin. They're all from the Two Rivers, which is a small village, almost completely, where's the map? Let's see. Two Rivers is way over there. I love this map, by the way. It's so pretty. But the Two Rivers is in between these two dots right here. So it's like right here. And so it's a small village, and nothing happens there. Like the most exciting thing is when the peddler comes, and if he brings fireworks, that just makes everything twice as good. So Trollocs, I shouldn't say that because that could be counted as a spoiler, but it does happen kind of early on in the book. Something happens to drive these three out of their village, and then they find out that they can't go back for the same reason that this happened. And I'm explaining this really poorly because I'm trying not to spoil anything. I'm going to stop there because I'm going to spoil things, and I don't want to spoil things until I do the series wrap up for these, because I'm doing a reread of the whole series, and I'm planning on doing a half spoiler free and half spoilery kind of series review, kind of like I did with the Dark Tower series. So anyways, keep an eye out for that. These books are fantastic. They are, if you like Lord of the Rings, then you'll probably like these. And I've heard a couple of people saying that, and I kind of believe in this too, if you're getting into fantasy, the best way, one of the ways that I've heard of to start, maybe not the best way to start, but would be to pick up maybe like the first book of Game of Thrones, which is one extreme of the fantasy spectrum where it's a soft magic system. There's hardly any magic in it at all, and it's just a very loose fantasy. It's a very soft magic system with touches of fantasy elements in them, and then pick up maybe the first 2 books of this series, or the first 2 or 3, because this has a hard magic system. There's lots of fantasy elements in there, and just go from there and see which one you like better, and see, depending on which one, then go from there as far as what you would read after that. But I love these books so much. These books are what got me back into reading about a year ago, because I actually had the time to read again. So anyways, I'm greatly enjoying my reread of this. Right now I'm on the 2nd book of the series, which is called The Great Hunt. And that one is going to show up in my September TBR video. Gave both of these 5 stars. And then the last book that I have to talk about was another one that I didn't read for the Newts. I actually had borrowed it from the library because I had the Audible book loan, and I like having the Overdrive audio book loan, and I like having the audio and the physical books. That way I can kind of keep track of where I'm at. And that one is Forest of a Thousand Lanterns by Julie C. Dow. I almost DNF'd this book because of some of the decisions that the main character made throughout this book. But then I turned around and finished it and gave it 5 stars. I'm going to tell you why I did that. Because I think the main character in this book, Shifeng, was written to be hated by the people reading this book. This is, from what the synopsis says, it's a reimagining of the Evil Queen from Snow White, but Asian inspired. And I don't know about Asian inspired Evil Queen, but Shifeng is, it's hard to put into words this. She is so determined to fulfill the destiny that she thinks she needs to, that is set out in front of her, that she will do anything to accomplish her goals. Literally anything. Not even short of she is very cunning and conniving, and there is a point in the book where this guy that she's been friends with since she was a kid, she knows he has feelings for her, and she's been leading him on for like 10 years, and he finally asks her to marry him, and she says no, and then she turns around and says, "You can always have me," basically, "but I don't want to be tied to you." And then she tries to fix it and fails again, tries to manipulate him into wanting her but not being able to fully have her again. And that was what almost made me DNF this book, was the fact that she did that to him twice. But I did finish it, and I gave this one 5 stars. I'm really anticipating the next book in this series. Is the series called Rise of the Empress, and I'm really anticipating the second book in the series because I want to see what she's going to do after she's done all of the stuff that she did in this book, and I'm excited for that. So anyways, those are all the books that I wanted to talk about from the month of August. Real quick side note, I just finished The Waking Land today, and I was really excited about it. I don't have it with me because I left it at work. I'm about to go get it and go back to the library. The cover is what pulled me in on it. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. This beautiful white cover with just this silhouette of a female, and it's all green and foresty, and it's so pretty. But like 85% of the book was build up, and then the last 15% was the final conflict. And I feel like the proportion of build up to final conflict could have been a lot better in that book. I thought it was okay overall, but just the amount of build up to that final conflict, for that final conflict to be such a small part of the book, and basically I felt like just to be glossed over and not really explained a lot. It just, to me, it was like I could have been reading The Great Hunt at work instead of this, and more thoroughly enjoyed it. So anyways, that's my side note. Those were all of the books I wanted to talk about in this video, and I will see you guys again in my next one.